Okay, so it's 11:16 p.m. on Thursday, 23rd July, and this is my first podcast, my first audio podcast. Let me first of all start by saying that I have no idea how this works, and I do not plan to stress it or be anxious about it. I plan on making sure that I am very, very, very comfortable on this platform because, unlike here, my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube is well curated. All my contents are polished, proper, and well presented. And I think it's already overwhelming for me. I want to start by saying also that this particular podcast is, I think, 5 weeks due or overdue because I have been procrastinating and trying to, get the topic right, the title right, understand how podcast works, see if I can get the best cover photo for my podcast, the best title, the best description. And that has cost me so much time. And I don't want that to continue anymore. So this is me getting this done, over and done with, and starting this podcast once and for all. So I'm new here and I plan, actually, like I said, on being comfortable, being weird, making all the mistakes, all the grammatical error. I also figured it's going to be stressful because I think I tried understanding how I'd be editing my audios, and it's actually really stressful. Like, how do you people do this? I already have a template of how I create my other contents. I do talking head videos on other platforms, but right now, like, incorporating a new style for my podcasts would be stressful. So I'm going to try as much as possible to not have long pauses in my speeches. But if I do, oh well, I believe whoever has the patience to stay back and listen, would find it worth it. So this is me just deciding to be myself, no pressure, no perfect editing, no trimming and trying to, speak correctly or perfectly. And yeah, that's about that. It's actually very funny that I started this podcast this way. I didn't even introduce myself, but that's by the way. And also, I figured something came to my mind. I think I was thinking of the right title for this podcast. I already know what I wanted to discuss, funny enough, but I was thinking of the title for the podcast, which didn't even make any sense. It didn't make any sense, honestly, why I was putting so much pressure on myself and overthinking it and trying to make sure that I presented it perfectly. But then something came to my mind a few days ago, and I thought to myself, I think it's even more fun and best that I just express myself, and then while I'm at it, the right title will present itself, and that's what we're going to do. For every time I want to release a podcast, I will just say what comes to mind, what I feel needs to be heard, what I believe it's important for someone out there to hear. And then while I'm at it, I'd figure the title out at the end of the day. Instead of having a title of what I want to talk about and then cracking my head on how and when to say it before I now go ahead to say it. That being said, I'm already like almost 5 minutes in. I haven't even said what this podcast is about. Last, or rather 5 weeks ago, because this podcast, like I said, is 5 weeks due. So why am I here? I am here to answer someone's question. And her name is Bola, I think. So I made a post on Instagram 5 weeks ago, reacting to a video of an actress who talked about standing out in a crowded industry, if I am very correct. standing out in a crowded industry, and Bola dropped a comment under the post, and she said, and I quote, she said, "Not sorry about that sound because I am obviously not recording with my mic, so any sound that gets into this background, we would all appreciate it as part of nature." All right, so Bola said, "Not in the creative space, but please, how exactly do one discover themselves in order to stand out?" Now, guess what my response was? Because I did respond to her. And I responded and I said, "I'll be discussing and uncovering topics on self-development with time. Follow up or turn on post notifications to stay updated." Now, this sounds very intelligent, very intentional, and very, very serious, doesn't it? But that was me procrastinating. That was me procrastinating, actually. Because then, after I had a response, she didn't even say anything to me. And I don't blame her. She didn't even follow back. Because I was supposed to have the answer to that question ready. Or I should have just said it to her, given a hint. But I felt I needed to be perfect with it, and I just immediately presented something that would buy me more time, because nothing stopped me from just letting her know on the spot. And even when I had bought some time to create a content on it to respond to Bola, it still took me another 5 weeks, 5 weeks of convincing myself that I needed to do this and do that and do that and da before responding to Bola. But then, as God will have it, 5 weeks later, I am here, and I am here regardless of what I planned on having ready that I do not have ready right now. So this is me also practicing what I preach and what I will be preaching henceforth, which is actually awesome. So I'd like to start by saying to Bola, if you're ever going to listen to this podcast, that everyone is a creator, because she said she's not in the creative space. Now, I opened Offstage with Pearl for creatives who feel lost and are trying to find themselves, because I believe that the mind is as important as the talent, if not more important than the talent. So I opened Offstage with Pearl to uncover the creative's minds, the creator's mind, before they go on stage, what happens behind the scene. I think the title is self-explanatory, sort of. So this is what Offstage is about. On a very good day, on a different day, I'm going to talk about how I came about that and what I stand for and what I'm going against. But that's a different topic. So now, back to what I'm saying. I want to say that the creators, or people that are referred to as creatives, isn't necessarily people under the arts space, people under the arts field, unlike the medical field, the science field, the engineering space. I personally believe everyone is a creator. We are all creating our own reality, first of all. So even though my content comes off as specifically made for artists and people in the art space, it is for everyone. It applies to everyone in whatever industry you're in. That being said, discovering oneself is not something that you arrive at, something that just happens. It is something that continuously happens. You always discover yourself, rediscover yourself. You always become, you unbecome. It's not something you find and like, oops, I found myself right now and I'm going to hold on to it. This is who I am. You would always find yourself. Okay, that's another sound. I guess we might have to get used to this. You would always find yourself learning and unlearning as you experience life. Now, I'd say that in order to discover yourself, you have to get in touch. You have to go inwards, because usually people always just look around them when they're trying to find who they are. We listen to the noise outside. So let's say you find yourself in a space where you're trying to excel and everyone is doing what you're doing. You notice that we tend to look at other people to try and borrow their ideas, to find out what they are doing that we need to incorporate into what we've done or what we're doing, maybe to copy them if necessary, to see if we can get the same results. But that's not how it works. If you're trying to stand out, or rather I'd say if you're trying to be unique in what you're doing, you can only be unique and stand out if you're in tune with yourself. And the thing about being in tune with yourself is knowing who you are at your core, finding out what your core values are, finding out what you stand for, what you believe in, what you go against, and making sure that all these things aren't shaped by the society, making sure that all these things are naturally from within your soul. Because growing up, the society shapes us actually. But if you listen closely, deep down within you, there is a voice, there is this feeling, there is this nudge, there is this calling, there is this message, there is always this whisper, there is always something that you can't seem to push away. You can't seem to just cover it out. You can't seem to drown it out. There's always that voice that message that comes back to you from time to time. There's always that thing that fascinates you. There's always that thing that makes you come alive. There's always that thing that you're passionate about, regardless of what the society has conditioned you to be, regardless of what your family, your church, your friends, teachers, mentors have told you that you should be. That is who you are at your core. That is the yearning of your own soul. Now, when you are in tune with that, you start to create from there, combined with your experiences in life. Because the truth is, the difference between you, Bola, and I is that your experiences and my experiences are not the same. And we all have experiences unique to our purpose in life, to our soul's yearning, to our soul's calling. And when you're in tune with who you are at your core, what you stand for, what your experiences are, and what those experiences have taught you in life, what you've learned from them, then and only then can you create uniquely and stand out, because you are focused on your purpose, you are focused on your journey. You're not looking at someone else. You're not trying to, copy someone else's style, do what they do. You're not trying to outdress them. This is not something that happens outwards, outside. It's something that comes from within. And like they say, as within, so without, if I'm correct. So every work you have to do has to be inside. Only then can it reflect on the outside, effortlessly. That is how you discover yourself. Forget about standing out, actually. Matter of fact, I think what Offstage Repel is based on is self-discovery, self-awareness, self-development. That is what I stand for. That is what I live for. So in anything you're doing in this life, if you've not discovered yourself, if you're not in tune with yourself, if you're not self-aware, you're fucked. Literally, you are fucked. So this is the only way you can discover yourself. And when you do, you don't even have to worry about standing out. You will effortlessly stand out wherever you find yourself, in whatever field, whatever career, whatever profession, because guess what? No one does it like you do. No one can ever do it like you do, because your experience, your purpose, your calling, it's unique to you and you alone, same as everyone else. That is how you discover yourself. So I think we're getting somewhere with this podcast, really. Wow. And I think I should be recording by this time, because me being a night owl, I tend to brainstorm a lot during midnight, and I think it's best. I don't really know how why I've been so overwhelmed, overthinking this thing and trying to see where I can set up with my mic, get it perfect to push out because it's my first time. Everything has to be perfect. But you know what? I refused to put myself in that box. I refuse to box myself into that perfection because that is my own doing. So this is how we're going to do it. And I'm sure that my message will always get to the right audience, you know. So the topic for this podcast would be discovering yourself in a crowd. I think that should work. Let's not even overthink it. Discovering yourself in a crowd. And this podcast is a response to Bola's question on my Instagram post. And I also think I work better or I am more fluent when I'm answering a question than when I'm just saying. But yeah, I would be saying, I have a lot to say actually. From my own personal experiences, I do have a lot to talk about, and I think I would do this more often. So this is my response to Bola's question on how to discover yourself, to stand out. And this is just the beginning, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.